This evening, President Trump is directing federal authorities to assist with what he calls the ecological disaster unfolding in the Potomac River near Washington, D.C. Experts are saying it could take months to repair an underground sewage line rupture that has allowed hundreds of millions of gallons of waste material into the Potomac River. Correspondent Mark Meredith has details tonight.
Tonight, President Trump says he's directing FEMA to help clean up the Potomac River after a sewer pipe broke, creating a catastrophe some think until now has not gotten enough attention.
This is, one of the largest sewage spills in U.S. history that almost really wasn't acknowledged until upwards of 200 million gallons of sewage was dumped in the river.
It all started January 19th when a section of a 54-mile sewer line dating back to the 1960s, known as the Potomac Interceptor, broke. Waste quickly overflowed a canal ending up in the Potomac, and it took roughly 5 days for crews to find a stopgap. Now, health concerns linger.
You got E. coli, you got salmonella, you got Staph aureus, you have viruses, hepatitis.
Local health officials are warning people to avoid any recreational activity, ranging from fishing to swimming in the impact zone.
We're pleased at the moment with what we're seeing and bacteria coming down, but this is not over.
But others worry what's ahead, including a downright nasty smell likely to engulf D.C. this summer. The White House thinks local leaders are moving too slow. Trump posting, "I cannot allow incompetent local leadership to turn the river in the heart of Washington into a disaster zone." There's also concerns about people who make a living off the river.
People aren't going to want to eat blue cats or oysters. These watermen who depend on their livelihood are impacted.
D.C.'s water management company says it's doing all it can to address the crisis, but warns it could happen elsewhere because cities nationwide are also dealing with aging infrastructure. Tonight, while the president's blaming Maryland's Democratic governor for the disaster, Governor Wes Moore is pushing right back, insisting federal agencies like the EPA should have been doing more from the start. And Brett, there's also one silver lining in all this: the drinking water in D.C. and beyond not impacted by the sewage spill, as the collection site is north of where the pipe broke. Brett.
Okay. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all as you watch this broadcast. It is time for Pops and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, Nicole. We have Nicole back tonight. Nicole Bennett.
Hey, everybody.
And Shelly E.
Hi.
All right, we have a lot to cover tonight, folks. As you all know, we are here in Maryland, so we've got the inside scoop for you. Before we light this fire, do your part, tap that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We are live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. Looks like we already have 2 members. Is that right, Shelly?
Yes, we have a couple here. Laura, thank you, Laura, for you're our first popper for tonight, our first chatter. You also became a YouTube member. We have Monica. Thank you, Monica, for also becoming a YouTube member tonight. And we have Robert. Thank you for your $10 super chat and for already being a member. May God bless you all. If you are here, then you think like man, woman, or child, not group think, but thinking for yourself. You got it, Robin. Robert. Thank you all. Everybody pop off. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, go get your merchandise. And Nicole will remind you that later as well.
Absolutely, folks. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Lots to cover here. Before we really get into it, folks, you know that we are on the Metro Conservative Media platform here. Us, along with Just the Guys podcast and my other podcast, KJ Christian Conservative. All right, so you can catch Just the Guys podcast every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. And you can catch me on Thursdays at KJ Christian Conservative at Thursday and Sunday at 9 p.m. All right. So you always have something to watch here on the Metro Conservative Media platform. Also, you can check out all of our shows on our website. That's www.metroconservativemedia.com. All right. So let's get into this, ladies. I want to start off with you, Nicole. So you're down there in Southern Maryland. What have you been hearing about this horrible sewage, not backup, but sewage leak, right?
It's a break. Like
Break.
the under the river pipe broke in Montgomery County. So all of the human waste, including the so-called flushable wipes, are floating downstream. At this point, I think it's almost 73 miles of the river has been infected with human waste. Now, some people say, oh, a little poop, whatever. It's not a little poop. It's a whole lot of poop. I mean, I'm talking about, this is a shitty situation. Excuse the pun, right? For us, for people who make their money on the river, who eat what comes out of the river, if you're a crab lover, if you love oysters, blue catfish, all of that is off the table at this point. Off the table at this point. If you're someone who, makes your money with tourism on the river, if you're someone who does anything on that river to generate revenue, and there are thousands of us who do that, everything is gone. And to have absolutely no response from our so-called elected leaders is absolutely obscene. So this happened January 19th.
Right.
And here we are almost a month later, and they're like, well, we'll get around to it, blah, blah, blah. If you've ever driven past a water treatment plant and you get like a whiff of that tremendous stink, imagine 73 miles of that through what was before drop dead gorgeous waterfront, bogs and all of that. And we're hoping that it does not infect the Chesapeake Bay, but at the slow rate that they're moving, it's going to affect the Bay. And you all, if you're a Marylander, you know how long it took us to get the Bay healthy again. So this is an all hands on deck kind of situation. But what we had been hearing is, DC water said, no, it's too cold. There's snow. Okay, now there's ice. Now it's too cold again. But in the meantime, 300 million gallons of this shit, quite literally, is killing our river.
And look, you're right. We have a video of this sewage. Take a look here. This is clip 1.
Look at the river. It's pretty clear and blue, but this stretch right here is brown and gray, and you can see little shreds of toilet paper. It reeks of sewage. So I've been a river keeper now for 25 years. And I've dealt with what I thought were pretty big sewage spills of 15, 20 million gallons, but this is dumping about 60 million gallons a day for the last 5 days into the Potomac River. And if you do the math, we're well over 200 million gallons of raw sewage that's dumped into the river. This may be one of the largest sewage spills that we've ever seen in the United States, and nobody's really reporting about it. I've never seen it this low, even in the summer. So you can just see the concentration of sewage is really high.
You can see the bits of excrement, and whether that's feces or like bits of toilet paper, it's kind of what's floating around.
I've seen people walking their dogs down here. We've got reports of fish kills downriver. This is a really important public health issue, and they need to close this river down and prevent any type of public access for people actually using this river.
My Lord, my Lord. Well, I mean, folks, we have the blame game now. We have the blame game. And what is really sort of ironic and also just weird to me is we literally just had a town hall with the governor of Maryland. What was it? Thursday? And it aired, of course, last night. And he made no mention of this. Nicole, Shelley, I didn't even know about this. I mean, like you both mentioned, this has not been broadcast at all, really, on news. It just became, noteworthy or at least newsworthy because we just found out about it. But this has been going on since January.
Yeah.
And here is the mayor from this town hall, and he's talking about how Trump doesn't help with any major disasters or anything. Take a look at this. I have it here. Look at this, what he's saying here.
It's really amazing to me that when we needed help from the federal government in Western Maryland, when they had historic flooding, that we were turned down from the federal government, that in fact, not only Maryland, but no state that did not vote for Donald Trump has gotten a single dollar in federal disaster relief. But they somehow found money to buy a warehouse in Hagerstown. That when we said that we needed supports, additional supports for FBI and ATF to continue the historic drop in violent crime we've seen in Maryland, we couldn't get that. They continued cutting that funding, but somehow they could find funding for this. And so while we know that federal property, that sometimes it's challenging when the feds buy property about what you can do, but I know this, any property that exists inside the state of Maryland, you need permits, right? There's regulations you got to follow being a state, being inside the state of Maryland. So we'll just make sure that they understand.
So again, I mean, he made no mention of this, Shelley, at the town hall. He was talking about all kinds of issues, immigration, crime, education. No mention of this. What are your thoughts, Shelley?
Wes Moore already puts on a shit show anyway, so I guess he didn't want to pile it on. But again, that's probably why he didn't say this. Not only that, this was on Thursday, was that town hall. This spillage, if you will, this sewage, raw sewage has been since mid-January, well before Nancy Guthrie, God bless her family. Well before that, Governor Moore does not know what he's doing. What he's doing, he's running for office while the people in Maryland, we are literally having shit thrown in our faces. Okay. Literally from our food. This is going to impact all kinds of jobs, all kinds of industries, like Nicole said. But another important thing is this. I want to know, where has our money been going? Okay. The Potomac River, that particular area certainly is managed by, I forget the name of the company, the DC something. So
DC
it's
Water.
managed by Maryland and DC, but this DC water treatment plant primarily. Where is our money? This is what government is supposed to be taking care of. And we hear it all the time. Infrastructure. Well, this infrastructure is spitting out its guts, okay? Because it has not been updated for however long. What are they doing with our money from day to day? 365 a year, 20. What are they doing with it?
Research your tax. We tax more than any other
what our
state.
taxes should be going towards this. These are the kind of things that the people, the citizens should be having our tax money diverted to or focused on. We can't even get our water clean. Hell, you got, again, raw sewage, not treated, raw sewage, toilet paper, turds going down the stream, the Potomac. Again, if you're above a certain point of it, you're not going to be affected necessarily. But eventually it's going to affect you, because you know why? They're going to come back and say, we need to add this kind of tax or add this surcharge to pay for, like Nicole said, clean up the bay as we've done before. This is bullshit. Give us our money back. Hell, towns and communities, we could have hired a private contractor maybe to maintain it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, he took so long to address it. And I'm talking about the state of Maryland. President Trump has sounded off on this. He says there is a massive ecological disaster. And actually, they're calling this now the largest sewer break in Maryland history.
No, in U.S. history.
Oh, U.S. history.
Maryland.
Okay.
In the entire, again, 300 million gallons. Not 300 gallons, 300 million gallons. And if you live in this state, if you live in Virginia, if you live in Delaware, when I tell you, yes, it's having an effect on places closest to the river now, but make no mistake, it's going to affect you terribly. You're going to have water boil orders where you're going to have to boil your water in order to drink it. And if you think it stinks now at 30 degrees, imagine when we get to the 110-degree dog days of summer here. What wraps all around Washington, D.C. is the Potomac River. Make no mistake. This is not a small spill, and people who like to play on the river are making a big deal about it. That's not what this is. This is absolutely devastating to all of the people who make their money on the shore, who make their money on the river, and all of the other businesses that make their money on top of that. So the way that communities make wealth is that a dollar is spent in one thing, but that dollar circulates around the community to bring wealth to the community. So imagine when that dollar doesn't happen. Imagine when, we've got, and I'm not just going to blame the governor, we got all these legislators in Annapolis yiggity yakking about chicken shit, quite literally, giving the chicken farmers a hard time when we have human sewage and other things that people flush in their toilet from Montgomery County floating down the river, affecting 3 states and the district. And we've not heard a peep from local leadership. Trump is right. Step in, send in FEMA, send in the EPA, because this is going to be devastating.
Well, this is what he's saying. He said a sewer line breach in Maryland has caused millions of gallons of raw sewage to be dumped directly into the Potomac River. A result incompetent local and state management of essential waste management systems. This is the same governor who cannot rebuild a bridge. It is clear local authorities cannot adequately handle this calamity. Therefore, I am directing federal authorities to immediately provide all necessary management, direction, and coordination to protect the Potomac, the water supply in the capital region, and our treasured national resources in our nation's capital city. So we literally just heard the governor, Wes Moore, say that President Trump doesn't want to help, and he's already directing national resources. Now, Wes Moore has responded via his it looks like Anwar Musa, spokesperson for the office. This is about 2 hours ago, saying the president has his facts wrong again. Since the last century, the federal government has been responsible for the Potomac Interceptor, which is the origin of the sewage leak. For the last 4 weeks, the Trump administration has failed to act, shrinking its responsibility and putting people's health at risk. Notably, the president's own EPA explicitly refused to participate in the major legislative hearing about the cleanup last Friday. Apparently, the Trump administration hadn't gotten the memo that they're actually supposed to be in charge here. So, ladies, who's in charge? Where's the blame land here?
Listen, the blame lands at the feet of legislators, state and at the federal level. Because they collect the tax money. So this is, if you want to call it FEMA, Trump, Republicans, Democrats, whatever, Maryland, DC, Virginia. These are all people that collect our taxes. And what has been done? These pipes underground, underwater, they should have been continuously upgraded. The Potomac is a hugely important and significant body of water. It does feed into the bay, eventually out into the Atlantic Ocean. This should have been ongoing. I know it snows in Maryland pretty much every year, give or take. So this is not a surprise. Fix the damn pipes. This should have been done. This is what I mean when I say, people always say, oh, you don't like government. No, I want government to do what it's supposed to do with the taxes. I want you to stay out of our lives where you're not needed or you shouldn't be. But I actually want you to do what you're actually supposed to do and what you are authorized to do. Take care of the damn pipes, the infrastructure that we keep hearing about, the bridges. Bridges shouldn't be falling down in 2025 or 2024 when they shouldn't just be falling down because a barge hit one of the damn posts or whatever. No, take care of what you're supposed to do and stay out of every damn thing else.
So, Nicole, I want to get your response really quickly. Who do you think's to blame here?
Well, I will tell you, as a Marylander, it lays absolutely at the feet of our government. I'm talking about the governor, his lieutenant governor, who made some vague post about some vague environmental issue. She's so worried about clean energy, she can't smell what the rock is cooking. But let me tell you, and I'm sorry about all these shit puns, the shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because guess where Annapolis is?
Oh.
When that funk come for them legislators in Annapolis and they can't work, when they can't even be in that town, when the stink hits the wealthiest people from Montgomery County to Annapolis, there's going to be an outcry. This is, when I say they don't understand the gravity of this, Wes Moore doesn't have very good understanding how government works, generally speaking. Some of the things that the clip that you showed when he's talking about government, they found the money for this, they found the money for that. The federal government doesn't find money. Money is allocated. Money is allocated by legislators, kind of like it is here in this state, kind of like it is at your city level, hell, like it is in your home. If you're the breadwinner in your home, you allocate money for the electric bill, for gas, for clothes. Government works like that. The family is basically a government in miniature, right? He doesn't get it because he doesn't understand it. They didn't pull money out of the sky. They did what they needed to do legislatively to get the allocation to do what they needed to do. This is a problem. Wes Moore spends more time campaigning than he does caring for the people of the state of Maryland. Now, personally, I don't like this dude. I think he's a little too slick. I think his aspirations far outseed his talent. Make no mistake. However, as a heavy taxpayer in this state, this is an emergency. I don't want any more town halls. I don't want any more legislators bumping their gums about foolishness and chickens and all of this. I don't want any of that. What I'm telling you is that half of this state is about to be devastated, and they're standing around with their thumbs up their butts, looking like, I don't know what's going to happen next. This is priority number one, not number two, not number three. I give a damn about these illegals, 287G or 87G, whatever the hell. I don't care about any of that. This is an emergency.
It is. It is.
Killing fish. Little children are going to end up with hepatitis. What are we going to do? Because we got a governor who's shiny as hell, but has no substance. He's like eating cotton candy. It looks good, but it doesn't fill you up. He has no substance. And in a state of emergency, what will we do, Maryland? Will we lean on his blackness? Because his blackness is not stopping this disaster from happening.
I agree with you both. I agree with both of you on this. Again, as you mentioned, Nicole, like the Lieutenant Governor Arugula, this isn't climate change, okay? It's not systemic racism. And I believe, based off of my reporting, it's decades of blue governance, okay? Letting 1960s infrastructure rot while pouring billions into green scams and this sanctuary nonsense. You know, okay, so they were apparently the reporting is they were rehabbing it. But again, this is too little too late. All right, now us Maryland taxpayers have to foot the bill for a river that's as toxic as well, I'm not going to say, but we need to fix this, folks, and they need to get on the ball.
A hot damn wound with STDs and whatever. I mean, this is ridiculous. Now we have to pay for it. We've already paid for it, if you will. We already pay taxes. We're going to be doubly or more taxed. We're going to be, excuse my pun, we're going to be double fucked.
Yeah. Well, we have someone here from Southern Maryland who actually is going to provide some additional enlightenment on this. All right, so joining us now is C.L. Marshall. How are you tonight, C.L. Marshall?
Man, I am great, and I got to tell you, ladies, I love a lively discussion. I really do, man. But listen, concerning this whole sewage thing, I got to tell you, if a chicken farmer over here on the Eastern Shore kicked over a 5-gallon bucket of chicken shit, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the EPA, and God knows who else would be all over our ass over here. So this isn't right. And to put this spill in context, think about this. The Exxon Valdez and the Deepwater Horizon catastrophes are less than what we've spilled in the Potomac River. Okay. Wow. Now, granted, that was oil and it's a different thing. But in perspective, the Deepwater Horizon was 137 million gallons. The Exxon Valdez was only 19 or 11 million gallons. I forget which right now. And granted, that was oil and it's a devastating thing. But what's happening in the Potomac River is far, far worse. Whoops. Sorry about that. I got a little excited there. I make my living as a charter fisherman, okay? And there are many others like me in the Maryland Light Tackle Guides Association. We rely. This year, the fish in the Potomac River was unbelievable. I'm going to say it was world-class, to quote one of my friends, Jamie Clow. World-class rock fishing up there. The fish were thick. The water was beautiful. The subaquatic vegetation was healthy. And somehow, I don't think that's going to be the case moving down the road. I don't. And as we look at this thing, there's got to be it's not a state issue anymore, because on one side of that river is Virginia. That makes it federal. In my mind, when it crosses state lines, it goes federal. So not only are we going to have to answer to the citizens of Maryland, we're also going to have to answer to Virginia for our fuck up.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, CL, how do you think something like this occurred? Is it due to just the poor infrastructure that was going on?
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, it is not just Maryland. I mean, I think it's happening all over the states, all over the United States. I know in the city that I live in, and the city council that I represent in Pocomoke with Mayor Todd Knock, and with the District 38A that I'm running for delegate in, we have an issue with decaying infrastructure. And I think that was the case here, that happened here. And it's happening in Pocomoke, and it's happening in Bel Air, and it's happening in Pick a City. Our infrastructure as a nation is decaying. It's a hard nut to go ahead and to make that investment to rehab that infrastructure. We all say we want to do it. We say we want to replace the bridges. We say that we know we need to replace the bridges. But when it comes down to, like you said, Miss Bennett, finding the money, somehow it always gets reallocated somewhere else down the road for some crap like green energy or these windmills they're trying to push down our throat here in Ocean City. And and concerning that, we don't want the windmills. We live here. We don't want them. The city doesn't want them. The county doesn't want them. The town doesn't want them. The residents don't want them. The governor wants them. He's trying to cram that down our throat any way he can. And you know what? If you want a sticker, you want a flag, you want a T-shirt that says "Stop them windmills," my email address is clmarshall@comcast.net. I will be pleased to send you one.
All right. And can you talk to that as far as for our viewers who don't understand, because the left and these Democrats continue to push this idea of renewable energy, of these windmills, and how they're actually going to make a difference. We were talking about this. Governor Wes Moore was talking about this in the town hall when he was talking about the energy crisis.
Yes.
So can you talk about why windmills don't work or aren't?
Did he really talk about the energy crisis? I heard about his mom and his dad and his kids and his family, and he dodged that shit pretty good.
You're right.
You were there?
Right.
But concerning the energy crisis, the other day I was in a boat. I was coming in the Chesapeake Bay, okay? And I was about 30 miles off the beach, sailing up the bay, heading to Newport News. And on my radar screen, and if you look on the Worcester County Department of Economic Development's website or on Maryland Coast, you'll see this soon. And on my radar screen, there is 100 blobs that show 100 marks, 100 targets that show up on my radar screen that I got to dodge. I can't go straight in the bay anymore. When I leave Long Island, I can't come straight down the coast anymore. I've got to move around these windmills and all this other crap that's in my way. So, when you look at the amount of fossil fuel, when you look at the energy required to build these things, you look at the lifespan of these things. And you think them whales that fell up on the beach just did that by coincidence? I think not. That had a lot to do with the radar and the crap that was going on out there, the pounding of the bottom with this high-speed sonar. So yeah, this is not a good thing for our coast. That's just talking about the environmental impact. But if you want to talk about the impact of tourism dollars, I'd welcome that discussion, because everything they've said has been a lie. It was going to be 40 miles out, 20 miles out. Now it's 8 miles out. They're going to be 112 feet tall. Now they're 150 feet tall or something like that. So it's been one lie after another. Where do we draw the line here? We as residents of Worcester County, we as residents of Pocomoke, we as residents of the Eastern Shore, we've drawn the line. It's being crammed down our throat by a Democratic governor, and we don't like it.
Yeah. Hey, CL, thanks for joining us. I got a question for you real quick. As a regular Marylander American, you make your living, if you will, off of the water. Let me ask you a question. All of these towns and cities, they have all of these organizations and economic groups and associations. Where is our money actually going? Because obviously it's not going to the infrastructure.
That's a great question. Help me out here. It's anybody's guess. Like they say at Maryland Live, it's a pick 'em. So I have no idea where it's going, and I don't have the bandwidth to track it. I'm busy running a small business. I'm busy providing a quality environmental experience for my customers. That involves going to Tangier and Smith Island and Smith Point Light and up into Potomac, and up into Potomac River. That's the experience that I provide. I would like to have a little more assistance from the Department of Natural Resources when it comes to marketing and marketing what we have as a fishery here in the Chesapeake Bay. I was just in Harrisburg at the at the show up there, which is the world's largest outdoor show. And people are telling me what a bad fishery we have in the Chesapeake. And it's far from that, it is far from that. Having some support at the state level to help us market that would be a great thing. Ocean City does a great job of that with Fish NOC, Scott Lennox, and Hooked on OC. They support that the fisheries there. And we're not really getting that from the state of Maryland. Some of the new legislations that I heard, one of my Republicans speak of the other day with theatrics and great zest was so far from the truth that it was unbelievable. And I really hope that that Delegate Jacobs and his folks kind of fall back in line, because what they're proposing is could very well force a closure to Maryland's rockfish season. It puts us out of commitment, out of the restrictions that are required through the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Act. And he's fighting for people in his backyard, and I get that, because that's his job, and I admire him for that. But when you look at a broader picture, if successful, that Senate bill, which I hope didn't cross over, I haven't checked it, would basically shut down rock fishing for the bay. And that's a very small target group trying to force this down everybody's throat. And accuracy of information is good. I strongly suggest that if you're interested in rockfish legislation,
that's what I want to know, is where people can find you as well. Get your information, and please tell our audience how they can support you.
You just call Nicole; she can find me.
Okay.
Nicole's been on my boat; she knows what I do.
Oh yeah, we went out to see the Artemis satellite launched. Yeah. It was amazing.
Wow.
It was absolutely amazing.
Tell our viewers where they can find your podcast or your information.
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Tangier Sound Charters. You can find me on CL Marshall. I'm a social media guy. You can find me there. My phone number is 410-251-7341. If you want to talk about fishing, you want to talk about the Chesapeake Bay, you want to talk about this mess in the Potomac River, I welcome the conversation. Look, I may not win every battle, but I show up for all of them.
All right, CL, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. You're right down there and on this Potomac and right in the middle of this. So our prayers are right. Our prayers are for everyone involved.
You're in the thick of the shit, unfortunately.
Right.
I'm farther from the shit than you are, but let me tell you this before I leave. This is good. I gained a lot of respect for Nicole Bennett when we're getting ready to watch the Artemis fire off, and it's going up in a big ball of fire, and she goes, "Fireball shots, anyone?" Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. We will catch you another time.
Thank you, ladies, so much. And just put it in perspective. The amount of sewage spilled in the Potomac River now is almost twice as much as the combined Exxon Valdez and the Deepwater Horizon. Think about that.
My goodness.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you all so much.
Folks, you heard it. You heard it. This is a major disaster. Okay. And the news and the Democrats leadership are not reporting it like they should, but we are. Yep. And so we're going to continue to keep you all notified and up to date on what's going on, because this can affect the country, folks.
Absolutely. We have a few super chatters here. Let's see what they're saying about this. We have Monica. Thank you, Monica, for joining us tonight with your $10 super chat and for being a member of our club. Kung Fu CJ, thank you for your $2 super chat. Zesty is the emperor with no clothes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
That's right.
And we have Ultraviolet. Thank you for your $5 super chat. How do you all feel about Maryland Republican gubernatorial candidate Ed Hale? Well, Ultraviolet, real quick, he came on our show, I don't know, sometime last year. We had him on at least one time last year. So go check out that podcast and see what we talked to him about.
All right. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate each and every super chat. It helps to keep us online, folks. And so we encourage you. That's a great way to support the channel. Super chat us. Any amount is appreciated. Also, we have merch. So and Nicole can talk about that.
Listen, folks, this is a time to get your merch. As shitty as things are here in Maryland, I think I'm gonna keep the shit puns going for at least a couple of weeks. I am so blown, folks. What am I gonna eat? I'm pescatarian.
Ooh.
So when I say give me my money back, I mean it. I may actually buy a t-shirt and send it to the governor. I may just send it to the governor's mansion. I want my money back, because while you're doing the wrong thing, we're all suffering. I want my money back. It comes in all different colors. Do we got a shit brown? Can y'all go back and show me if there's a doo-doo brown? If there's a doo-doo brown, it's
Doo-doo
bought.
brown.
There's a doo-doo brown. It's bought tonight. It's going directly to the governor's mansion. I've had enough of this dude. But listen, get your merch as we're getting closer and closer to all of the A250 events. I think I've been to probably 10 or 15 A250 events already, and we're just in February. It's starting to heat up. And we want to celebrate our nation, but we want people to know where we stand without being too aggressive with it. Give me my money back. There's a summer shirt. Of course, we have hoodies. There is, they don't call it a fanny pack anymore, but a fanny pack-esque kind of bag, a carry-all kind of bag. All of these wonderful things make perfect gifts, especially for people who are conservative or conservative-leaning. This is the time to show the world where we stand. Again, the Unapologetically American series is still up. Still up. Wouldn't it have been great to have that shirt, you know, when you walked into that so-called town hall with the governor? It really would have set him off. Unfortunately, I think CBS would have not let you guys in.
You couldn't,
you know, wearing something that didn't look like normal clothing. But this is your moment. Everybody get your merch and send us your pictures in your merch. Send us the picture. It's important that we all stand together, right? So tonight, because I'm trying to show y'all all the merch tonight. Can you see? I got a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's my Unapologetically American sticker on my at-home work laptop, not to be confused with my other 7 laptops, but my at-home work laptop. It's a fun thing to do just to let people know where you stand.
All right. Thank you so much, folks. All right. And again, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. All right. So moving on to our next segment. It's Monday. All right. And so you all who have been watching for a while know that every Monday in February, we are doing a Black History segment. But this one is a little different. So every Monday we have in our Black History segment, it's really fact versus fiction, where we debunk inaccuracies about Black history, particularly inaccuracies or narratives pushed by the left. Okay, because again, they love to use some type of Black history, bleegity black, whatever, that they can manipulate and tell misinform. And so we're here to set the record straight. So tonight we actually have a twofer. We have 2 narratives that we want to set straight. All right. And we have a special guest. Before I bring up our special guest, though, I want to first show you this video. This first video is, okay, so President Trump is, you know, people have called him a racist for as long as we can remember. But in this next clip, President Trump at this time was Donald Trump, we're told he's some lifelong enemy of Black advancement, despite documented moments where he worked with leaders like Jesse Jackson to expand minority representation on Wall Street. Take a look. This is clip 2.
I want to bring forth a friend who has, he is deceptive in that his social style is of such. One can miss his seriousness, and his commitment for his success is beyond argument. When we opened this Wall Street project and we talked about it, he gave us space at 40 Wall Street, which was to make a statement about our having a presence there. And beyond that, in terms of reaching out and being inclusive, he's done that too. And created for many people a comfort zone when I ran for the presidency in 84 and 88. And many others thought it was either laughable or something to avoid. He came to our business meeting here in New York because he has this sense of the curious and a will to rest to make things better. And so aside from all of his style and his pizzazz, he is a serious person who is an effective builder of building for the builder of people. Last year, he was a part of our workshop, of our panel workshop on what are the challenges and opportunities. And so a year later, Donald Trump, for a few minutes, challenges and opportunities to embrace the underserved communities. Donald Trump.
Wow. Wow.
Well, it is an honor to be here, and I was with Jesse last year, and we had a lot of fun, and it was a little different. We had a real panel where you asked questions and everything, and we didn't do so much speaking, so I'm going to get off here very quickly because I want to hear some questions. Jesse started off by saying most of the wealth in this country is in the hands of a few. And I thought to myself, is that a bad thing? What's wrong with that, Jesse?
Everybody laughing.
But he did have an expression last year. And I was just telling Roger. He had
wait. Now that sound like black folk laughing to me. I know a black person laugh when I see you heard him. Did you hear them laughing? Okay, let's keep going.
Expression last year, the wall on wall must fall. And you haven't used it today, and I'm very disappointed in this, Jesse, because I thought it was a great expression. And I heard the expression about 14 times, and then he came to me at the end of the session, and he said, listen, I want some office space in your building on Wall Street, because the wall on wall will fall. And I said, it's okay, Jesse, I'll make a good deal with you. I'll get you some space. You'll pay about $40 a foot. And he said, no, I don't want to pay 40. I said, how about 30? No. Wow. It was the cheapest deal I ever made in the history of 40 Wall Street. Is that right? He got it for nothing. He's a very tough
Just like Jesse wanting something for nothing.
We know that,
laughing
right?
and everything.
No, he's a terrific guy. We love him, and I'm here for him. And the snow came, and I said, gee, nobody's going to show up. And look at this place. It's packed.
All right.
Wow.
All right. So joining us in our Black History Month segment for tonight is well-known scholar, author. I mean, the list goes on. Virgil Walker. He is a teaching pastor at Redeemer Bible Church in Gilbert, Arizona, and cultural commentator, author, speaker, and known for his regular appearances on Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Good. How are you? Good evening, Virgil. How are you tonight?
Fantastic. It's great to be with you. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes. Hi. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Excited to be here. Love the clip that you just showed. In fact, I don't know if your listeners know, 40 Wall Street, historically speaking, is one of the most important buildings on Wall Street, built between in the 20s, 29, 30, somewhere in there. It was at the time of its building one of the pinnacle and premier spaces and places on Wall Street. And so he wasn't just giving them, oh, I've got a building over here that nobody's using. I've got something unimportant. They were actually residing in one of the crown jewels at Wall Street. And to hear that Jesse got that for free says a great deal about the man who gave it to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But we don't see these clips played at all, really. Jesse Jackson does not talk about this. Al Sharpton does not talk about this. All we hear is President Trump, Donald Trump, is racist. Racist. And that was a huge deal, as you mentioned, at that time and even today.
Yes.
I want to note, like TJ to your point and Virgil to your point, he was only a racist after he started running for office and became ran on the Republican ticket. All before that, because he was a Democrat, he was giving people things for free. I mean, Donald Trump has done a lot for people and people of color, if you will, people of color he's done more for them than they've done for the people that they claim to be working for.
Right. And the thing I loved about that clip that you showed was he stayed himself, right? He was the same guy then as he is today, you know, making the joke about what's the problem with the money being in the hands of a few. Right.
Mhm.
So he hasn't changed. It's not him who's changed. It's all those who are around him, who have their own political agenda, who are making the claims that they're making about him being racist and the like. And nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, Donald Trump's one of those rare people who, in my estimation, really has no problem or doesn't think about people from a standpoint of color. He thinks about them on the basis of another C word, which is competency. So if you're a competent individual, he wants to be around you. He wants to spend time with you. He wants to know how, you know, what the synergies are that would help him be better in business or be better in whatever kind of deal he's making.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we wanted to show that, again, that was Wall Street in New York City, but in context, or kind of like to bring it to the Black Wall Street. So the same voices who say systemic racism made success impossible rarely explain how Black Wall Street in Tulsa became one of the most prosperous Black business districts in America. And so before we kind of dive into Black Wall Street and Greenwood and the Tulsa massacre, I want to bring you guys this video. This is clip 3.
Some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
All right, so that was Greenwood, a thriving, one of the most prosperous Black communities in America. As they mentioned, that was a Smithsonian video, Black-owned banks, hotels, grocery stores, high rates of business ownership. And it was destroyed by a mob violence in 1921. That was the Tulsa Race Massacre. So yes, this happened. We are not saying that these types of things don't happen in history. We all know that this racism exists. I don't think any one of us are saying racism doesn't exist or has never existed. However, the fiction behind this, or what I would like to point out on this, is that the left and mainstream media say systemic racism made Black success impossible. And so if that is the case, how did Greenwood exist in the first place, Virgil?
Right. No, it's a great question. I go back to the origin of the Greenway story, which really starts with a man by the name of O.W. Gurley. And Gurley comes from Arkansas. He's born right after slavery ends. He is a pioneer in that he was doing well, had a grocery store and some shopping retail centers that he leveraged when he was in Arkansas. During the land rush, when Oklahoma becomes a state, he grabs a hold of about 40 acres of land and then begins slowly and systematically selling that land to blacks who wanted to move into the area, knowing again that, Jim Crow, racism, all of that many of them were escaping from Arkansas. He kind of hand selected the folks that came in and purchased the land, and that's important because what it says is that it was Gurley who made the decision as to the kinds of people he wanted in his community. Right, he hand selected people who were like him, who were disciplined, who were focused, who weren't about riffraff and craziness and doing all kinds of gangsta things, that we recognize in our day. So he kind of hand selected the people that began to frame up the town, and all of them had entrepreneurial ways. The other thing was there wasn't any kind of civil rights movement. There wasn't. Blacks had to do business with other Black people. So you had these cities who developed their own economic systems, their own economic structures, and as a result had to grow from there. They weren't relying on government. They weren't looking for handouts. They weren't crying poor, pitiful me. In fact, it was Booker T. Washington during that time who called this area, he called it the Negro Wall Street. That's kind of where it started from. And again, his whole ideology of, putting your pail down where you are and making the best of your life, regardless of what your skill sets are, was something that was an ideology that really permeated that part of their community. And as a result, they grew and grew and it continued to grow. And they were really unaffected by what was happening outside of their area. All of the craziness with the KKK in the deeper South, all of the issues as it relates to what government would or wouldn't do, didn't have any impact on them. So to the point that you made at the outset, where systemic racism and all of that kind of comes into play and nobody can make it, these folks defy the odds. And they, the thing that I love, I've written about Gurley and other financiers around the country in different places who during the late 1800s, early 1900s, figured out a way with all of and they truly had systemic racism that they had to overcome, but they figured out a way to really make things happen for themselves without worrying about government and the like. I want to reiterate before we get too far, the point you made, that does not mean that racism did not exist or that it didn't have impact. It absolutely did, and it cost the lives of 300 people in the city of Tulsa. I don't know if you knew this. My family, my mom, my dad, who's passed away, still live in the Tulsa area.
Really?
Yeah. I grew up a part of my younger adulthood there in Tulsa, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. Of course, my generation knows that's the Gap Band. That's where the Gap Band's from, right? Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. But at the end of the day, this really has a lot of historic meaning. And you still had folks that were from that part of the country, that area of town, really wanting reparations from the government as a result, because there was all kinds of stories and ideas about how 300 people died and what the massacre looked like and whether or not the government was involved to some degree. There's all kinds of stories around that. And I think all of those are things that we should go look at, that we should not run away from or shy away from or pretend that did not happen. But the larger story in this context is what Black people could do for themselves on their own, in spite of all of the things that stood against them and against their ability to move forward.
Yeah. I think you did you have a question, Shelley or Nicole? Because I have something too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nicole, go ahead.
So one of the things that I most admire about history is looking at how things that were created to do harm turn into something wonderful. So when we take a look at Jim Crow laws, it was, Black people can't shop here, Black people can't eat here, Black people can't be there. It really did keep the dollar in the Black community, which drove wealth in their own community. So when people say, and I'm sure you've heard this, that modern Black America could never reproduce that level of success that was held then, I think that's one of the reasons why. Because, rather than spend our dollar at a mom and pop, we're very quick to order from Amazon. Quite literally, the truck is out front of my house dropping my package off now. But I think that's a lot of the nuance that people are missing. Yes, the racism and the hatred burned that particular town down. But many people don't know that they rebuilt it in a year.
That's what I want to move on to next. Yes. The rebuild.
That same embarrassment of riches, of genius level, entrepreneurial spirit people said, okay, we'll start over again. But I think to a large degree, if we could grab that spirit and spray it on Black America now, I think we would enjoy that same success. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I go back to what you said about difficult situations and circumstances that created a blessing of sorts for us as Black people. My mind automatically, I wrote down a quick note so that I'm getting of age where if I don't write it down, I'll miss the point, and so I've got to write things down while you're talking. But that said, I'm thinking about the Montgomery bus boycott and what happened there as a result, right? King and all those who were following him at the time did not think when they had made a decision that they were going to walk off of the buses and, all that transpired there, they thought that was going to be something that took place for, Rosa Parks does her thing. They were going to have a little rally. Maybe it would last a week. Maybe it would last 2 weeks. It ends up lasting for 13 months. And as a result, what they did economically speaking was the bus system at the time, they were losing $3,000 a day. Now that doesn't sound like much, but in today's dollars, that equates to about $33,000 that the city was losing every single day that Black folks weren't on the buses. We were 80 to 90% of the bus riders. Well, think about it. When all of those folks who had their dimes and they were getting on the buses and were giving that money into government, now took that money and gave it to each other. Because they still had to get to work, they still had to buy things, they still had to go to different places. They would take those dimes and nickels and what they had, and they would hand it to folks who were driving them around in the city, taking them to different places. I say Black folks had the first Uber before Uber was Uber, right? We had our own economic system that was happening as a result. The other thing that happened was Black businesses profited because, again, when you're going to work and coming back, you're going to buy your sandwich, you're going to buy your lunch, you're going to buy all of these different things. So there was an economic benefit. What happened, though, after the buses desegregated, and it was the one unique situation where when the Supreme Court made the ruling, you actually had a beneficial outcome, which my argument is that as a result, you didn't need the civil rights movement to do anything else. We had a system in place, a Supreme Court that acted rightly and justly in that instance. That said, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But with that said, the system worked. The problem was no one capitalized on the economic benefit that resulted. So they actually let that go. And what did they do? They got back on the buses. So for them, freedom was not economic empowerment. Freedom was, how close can I sit next to a white person on a bus? How close can I sit with a white person in the restroom? How close can I sit to a white person at a lunch counter? And the whole civil rights movement negated the whole other aspect of that process, which would have been, look at what we just did from a standpoint of economic empowerment and economic disenfranchisement with the government. We took $30,000 in today's dollars. We took $30,000 a day out of their coffers and put them back in our community. But we were so ready to get on the bus and sit next to somebody who didn't want to be sitting next to us to begin with, and that was where I believe things were lost.
And let me just jump in. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go, Virgil. So you're leading to my question in a way. So talking about this economic benefit that we would have continued, particularly from the Tulsa riots and the rebuilding. So there's a mindset today with some Black people in particular that says that we need reparations, we need to be paid back, if you will, for the Black Wall Street massacre there in Tulsa and other places around the country. So with this mindset of economic freedom, which I call it a mindset, it's a mindset more so than it is the actual money that flows through your hands. It's a mindset. How do we respond to them? How should we respond to them? Do we or at least those people, do we advocate with them to say, yes, the government owes us? Or do we take that same mindset that built Tulsa, Greenwood, and other cities around the country? Do we take that mindset, and what can we do with it if we just reframe things?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's great debate on it, and there's a number of different points of view and perspectives on that. I've been in so many chat rooms and places and spaces where people advocate for reparations and have had debates. I've written a piece about reparations, and the argument that I make is that the government has already paid that in full. When you look at what they've given financially, aimed and targeted, not toward Black folks, but aimed and targeted toward those who, from a financial standpoint, were in need. There are trillions of dollars, $2 to $3 trillion poured into communities who were economically impacted. We had the whole war on poverty. $3 trillion was poured into that in the way of all kinds of benefits that were targeted at Black folks. And when you look at the condition of those communities today, as opposed to what they were before those kinds of safeguards ever came into place, we're worse off now than we were prior to that time frame. And so, yeah, you can spend your energy and time waiting for the government who you said enslaved you, the folks who said that they wanted to do you wrong. You can wait on them to repay you in order to get back to ground level where you feel like things started at, which puts you at an even playing field. But I don't, as a grown man, like I don't have that kind of time. I've got to take care of my family, my wife, my children. I've got the next generation that I'm concerned with, and the energy that I want to spend won't be in trying to beg the government for some kind of a reparations. I'll get my reparations when you pay for the business that I own. When you pay for consulting fees, when you pay for me to come speak at your event, when you pay for me to come, write a book for you, or whatever I'm doing. I look at that. Those are my reparations. I'm getting back what I put into it. Anyway, I've got a longer piece about that you could find out if you just looked at my name, Virgil Walker, and then typed in the case against reparations. You could find the piece, and it's a pretty lengthy piece. I go through the Civil War, the blood, the sweat, the tears that government from that time to now has paid, and I argue that reparations have been paid in full. I say that. I'll also say this as a caveat. I'm not angry at anybody who looks at my articles and comes away going, that N word is crazy. He's
no,
lost his mind. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we need that, and that brings me to my next point: is we don't talk about the rebuilding, and when I say that, the rebuilding of Black Wall Street, we don't talk about the economics and the entrepreneurship involved in that. We don't talk about the Montgomery bus boycott from an economic point, not from the civil rights struggle. That's the only perspective we talk about these things from. And what I want to ask you is why? Why don't we talk about this from a capitalist, entrepreneurial, business-minded perspective?
No, I think that's a great question. I think the biggest reason today is because, from an economic standpoint, victimology pays. I'm working on a piece now where, in fact, I'll probably publish it tomorrow on my personal Substack that asks the question, when are we going to decide to stop playing in the Victim Olympics and trying every day to win the prize? We live in the greatest country in the world, the strongest nation in the world, with the best opportunities in the world. If you cannot make it here, I'm sorry, you'll be unable to make it anywhere. And I dare anyone, since if they believe that America is so racist and so systemically backwards and so oppressive and so difficult to get ahead, point me to the country or nation where you would jump on a flight, jump on a boat, and land at, where you would have a better opportunity. People are willing to die to come here. They're willing to be, they're screaming and crying now that they're here, that ICE is coming to get them. And so folks ain't wanting to leave too bad. I don't see it. I'm trying to figure out why they, what the issue is there. But at the end of the day, I think to answer your question directly, victimology pays. It actually takes work. It actually takes effort, thought, energy to amass wealth. And I'm always amazed. I spend a lot of time watching in my spare time, which there's not a lot of, but every once in a while I'll have one of those binge seasons where I'm watching something on TV or on YouTube, and I'm always watching these criminal cases where people have come up with these incredible plans, brilliantly crafted, in order to figure out how to swindle money or get money on the side. When at the end of the day, had they just used that same brain power to figure out how to do something legally, they would be so much further ahead without all of the chaos that ensues as a result.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a quick question, a little follow-up. You mentioned earlier when we played the clip with President Trump, well, Donald Trump at the time, that you said, there's another C word that he likes. I'm going to add another C word. He focuses on capitalism.
Absolutely.
That which will enrich not only himself, but he wants others to be capitalists and help them grow. So that's another C word. In that vein, Virgil, my last question for you would be this. Would it be advisable if you take in the context of Tulsa history, Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, if you take in that context, would it be advisable for Black people, to have their own another Black Wall Street where they're only building Black businesses, or not, I shouldn't say only, but they're building their own community based on, again, the Black Wall Street or a modern day version of that? I'm going to answer you. Before you answer, I want to answer. I say no, in that, particularly from an economic standard, green is green. You want to expand your product to as many people who's going to buy it. That's my short answer. I'll hear yours.
No, I completely agree with you. I think the folks who built Black Wall Street were in a time and a condition that required them to be together because of the systemic racism and issues related to their plight. They were truly oppressed. Jim Crow laws were in place. So they were doing that as a protection to one another. But one of the other things that they had in common that made them successful was that they actually had shared values, right? They coalesced around values, and that's what's missing in Black communities today. There's not a shared value. You mentioned capitalism. Right now, you've got organizations like BLM who are trying to tear down capitalistic structures, who are trying to build up socialism, who are trying to advance Marxist ideology. And so when you look at what's permeating both socially, from a socio-political standpoint, in the organizations that press forward, whether it's the NAACP, you name the Black organization, they're usually amplifying some form of socialist ideology. If you look at what's happening, unfortunately and sadly, in many of our churches, there's Black liberation theology permeates Black churches to such a degree. Now, again, most folks would not know Black liberation theology or define it if it slapped them in the face. But unfortunately, we imbibe it all the time in churches. I'll give you a brief example. When the end of Roe v. Wade hits, and we have the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and Black church pastors everywhere jump in the pulpit, like Jamal Bryant, who step up on a pulpit about to do a baby dedication, and before the baby dedication is upset and says that Republicans and particularly whites have declared war on 30 million women in this country. Why? Because they want to encourage them to have their babies. What you're dealing with is Marxist ideology, in that government is now the oppressor, in that now the idea that the only way we can get ahead is by killing our babies. That's a whole nother ideological framework that is absent anything Bible whatsoever. There's so many things that are wrong with what's happening, but those Black churchgoers are imbibing that Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And so, sociopolitically, from a standpoint of religiously, we're having problems in those spaces as well. And then culturally speaking, what we listen to in our music that glorifies all kinds of cancerous ideas, it pushes forward the idea that being lazy and having the expectation that someone's going to take care of you is what it means to be Black. When you have that transpire, you've got all kinds of problems in your culture that most don't really want to address or deal with. But those are the kinds of things we're dealing with. I would not structure any framework with who I connected with on the basis of the color of our skin. And now I have every interest in connecting the dots with you on, hey, do we have shared values? Do we have a firm faith in God? Do we have a desire to see life take place? Do we have a desire to see one another prosper? Those are Chicago right now. It's a bunch of Black folks in a specific area with values that aren't shared. Some want to live, others want to have a culture of death. And so, for me, it won't simply be how many Black folks can we put together in a space and feel good about each other and sing Kumbaya. It's about shared values and a direction that's going to be God honoring.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. My last question for you is, after all that you have said, looking at the state of America, the Black community, I feel like we have regressed, and the regression has taken place in the mind. And so I'm wondering whether you agree or disagree with that. And if you agree, what can we do about that? And let me give you an example. So I have, I'm a mom, and my son has a friend, teenage girl, and both her parents are doctors. She goes to a great school, one of the best in the country. They have a beautiful home, probably the biggest home I've ever seen. Well-spoken, intelligent, and she is writing a speech on how Black people are oppressed. All right. And so I'm just like, how did we get here? I didn't grow up like that. I don't understand how does the mindset get you to that? You are probably you probably have one of the best lives I know, Black or white. Okay. And you're writing a speech about how you are oppressed. If this is what we're doing, this is a regression to me. And she's not alone. Many young people are writing speeches about that this very month, how we are oppressed, and they are the farthest things from oppressed. How did we get here? Is this a regression? And if so, how do we fix it?
Yeah, those kinds of ideas just weaken the minds of young people. And it puts them in a state of not being able to compete on the world stage. Whoever is training her, is teaching her, is doing a tremendous detriment to her forward momentum. That is an absolute regression. That's worse than Jim Crow 2.0, because to the point that you just made, it's a mind virus, and that will cause more problems for her as she sees herself as a perpetual victim. There's a study that's been done that asks the question whether or not people who felt like they had luck were doing well, and those who felt like everything that they ran and encountered was bad, and which one of them had better overall outcomes. And they made the study was based upon the economic outcomes, spiritual outcomes, and the like. And what they showed over a course of time, this was about 1,500 people in this study. What they showed over the course of time is that those who felt like they were oppressed, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. They began to look for ways to not only self-sabotage, but they focused on when the other shoe would drop, even if they were in a good situation. And those who felt like they called it luck, they had some of them have other spiritual aspects that they attached to that. But those who felt that way and looked and believed that they had something positive, the positive outcome was going to be the end result. They had better outcomes, better wealth accumulation, better family structures, longer marriages, and the like. And so these are the kinds of things that have been studied by sociologists and by psychologists for years. I mean, I'm old enough. I know you ladies are relatively young. I'm old enough to remember what it meant to think big, right? What it meant to fake it till you make it, right?
Shut your mouth.
I remember those days when your thought was, hey, I'm gonna have positive affirmations about what I can accomplish, about what I can do. I grew up with parents who told me there's nothing you can't do, that so long as you work hard enough. If it was an issue of race, hey, you might have to work twice as hard to get the same level, but guess what you're gonna do? Oh, you're gonna work twice as hard. That's what I did, and that formula still works today. Your question about what to do about it, this is a spiritual war.
Yeah.
This isn't just, if we can tweak this or that or get a little better education, we'll be all right. The education system is absolutely hollowed out. Sending your kids to public school systems for them to come back believing that they're more enslaved today than they ever were in the mid 1800s. That's not a formula for success for Black folks. And so, my encouragement is, man, we've got to get back to what was a winning formula during the days of O.W. Gurley, right? Mm-hmm. These folks were serious about their faith. They were serious about marriage. They were serious about being committed in relationship. They were serious about things that caused them to move forward, not backwards. Right. You saw the images on that early clip that you posted. Those folks dressed well. They looked like they were going somewhere and had something to offer once they got there. We've got to get back to that. And again, I always go back to, and you've got to go back to getting on your knees, repenting of sin, getting close to you and Jesus, and building out family first, and then building out from there. All of this misplaced empathy with folks who intend you harm, like illegal aliens and all of it. Listen, go home and get your life right. Get back to you and Jesus, and everything's going to be all right.
All right.
Have a little talk with Jesus.
Virgil, yes, indeed. Please tell our audience where they can find you. Please shout out any events you have or anything you would like them to know, where they can find you and support
you. You all were incredibly gracious in reaching out. I'm grateful for that. Love to come back and have another conversation. But you can find me on all the socials. Virgil Walker. I think it's Virgil Walker OMA on Twitter. You could find me at redeemeraz.org. My own website, Virgil Walker MIN.com. Virgil Walker MIN. No, it's MIN.me. I'm sorry. Virgil Walker MIN for ministry.me.me. You could find me there. My writing is all over the place. I write for a number of organizations, Standing for Freedom Center, Redeemer Bible Church. I write for a number of different political organizations. I've written for Blexit. I've written for, which is Rise now, right? Rise.
Right. TPUSA Rise.
So, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So yes, it's an honor to work for and work with all those organizations. I just try to put out as much content as possible in an effort for somebody to turn and see the light of Christ and walk in a positive way.
Well, you are needed. You are needed. Your voice and your pen.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me, ladies. You take care and God bless.
All right, good night.
You too. Thank you. All right. Wow. What a great conversation.
Yeah,
yes, indeed.
That was good.
All right,
to his point about thinking big, we were taught to think big before Ben Carson wrote the book. Okay. So we were taught that was a common phrase I heard at least in elementary school. But let's hear what our super chatters, you all have been partaking of this very beautiful conversation we just had with Virgil Walker. Josh, hi Josh, for your chat. Thank you. CL is a true Maryland man. I love my shirt. We got to put one on that man right there. I could listen to him talk all night long. I could too, Josh. I really enjoyed that.
I love me some CL.
regular guy.
He's a shore man for sure.
Yep. Kung Fu CJ, thank you for your $5 super chat. I told people about this months ago. Trump was king in the Democratic Party. Yeah, he really was. They don't want to admit it, but he was. We have Trucker 86. Thank you for your $10 super chat. Love you, ladies. Thanks for what you gals are doing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I love that you call us gals. I love it. Thank you. We have Patriotic Lady. Thank you for your $20 super chat. She says, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much, Patriotic Lady. And we have Cripster. Thank you for your $20 super chat. Love the conversations tonight. Thank you, ladies, so much. We thank you all. We have one more. I think we have Forensic RNN. Thank you for your $2 super chat. We so appreciate it. Thank you for your content. Appreciate you all. We appreciate all of you, your super chats, your chats in the podcast tonight. Thank you for our mods, all of you there who are so faithfully with us every week or several times a week. So we thank you for that. Don't forget, click that like, share, and subscribe buttons on your way in and on your way out if you didn't do it.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, before we go, I want to bring you all this last clip of President Trump. He has just put this out on Air Force One, responding to Governor Moore here in Maryland. He's riffing on him again, and want to bring this to you all. All right, let's see here. Let's see what he says.
The White House is a great place to be. But no, I don't like the job that Wes Moore is doing. I don't like the job he's doing at the bridge. I don't like the fact that he did that horrible, with the pipes and the Potomac, and he's not doing the job. They got to do it, and I'm gonna have to get the federal government involved in getting it fixed because he can't fix anything. Thank you.
Where's the lie? Where is the lie? Come on, folks. My goodness, I feel like the president. And when I tell you, my heart breaks for my friends who live on the shore. My heart breaks for the communities that this is going to impact. My heart breaks for all the children who are going to be susceptible to illness. I don't, again, this is what happens when we pick people to lead and they have no sense. They have no sense. We got lucky with Joe Biden, right? The good thing about Joe Biden is that he had been in politics long enough that there was a community around him. And they were batshit crazy, make no mistake. But there was a community around him that at least had some skin in the game. The problem with Wes Moore is that he doesn't have anyone around him that's giving him the best advice, the things to do. Everybody around him is looking at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They got their eyes on that prize and could not care less about the people here in the state. He was quite literally on the Eastern Shore in Cambridge and said nothing about the devastation.
Yeah. That's what surprised me. Nothing. He was literally there and said not one thing about it. And that tells me he was trying to cover it up. Folks, we will continue to bring you the latest on this disaster because it, like you said, Nicole, this is going to be in our forefront, in our eyes and our noses and everywhere else for a while. So we are going to continue to bring you all the latest on this story. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. So if you hit that like button as you're coming in or as you're leaving in, make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.